Hello, let's start with the summary followed by question answers of the chapter The Enemy by Pearl S. Buck. Set during World War II, especially around the year 1941 or 42, The Enemy is a powerful narrative about a Japanese surgeon named Dr. Sadao Hoki, who faces a massive dilemma. What is the dilemma that Dr. Sadao Hoki faces? Should he uphold his patriotic duty as a Japanese citizen and hand over an escaped American enemy soldier to the police? Or should he honor his professional oath as a doctor and save this dying man's life? Before I enter into the summary, let's meet the characters of the chapter, The Enemy. The first major character is Dr. Sadao Hoki. He is around 35 to 40 years old, a highly skilled Japanese surgeon and a scientist. Dr. Sadao Hoki studied in America for 8 years, but he is deeply patriotic towards his country, Japan. Now meet Hana. Hana is in between 30 to 35 years old. She is Sadao's wife. Hana is supportive, compassionate, and a traditional Japanese wife. Hana met Sadao while studying in America. And now meet Tom. Tom is a young American prisoner of war whom we call POW. He is a young boy of around 18 to 20 years old. Tom is a sailor from the US Navy who washes up on the shore very near to where Dr. Sadao Hoki lives. And now meet Takima the general. Takima the general must be 70 plus years old. He is a very selfish, ailing Japanese military officer who protects Sadao because he needs him for his own medical treatment. Now meet the servants who are Yumi the gardener and the cook. These servants belong to Dr. Sadao Hoki's household. They represent the voice of standard nationalistic Japanese society. They are terrified of harboring an American enemy and they are fiercely loyal to their own country. Now we are good to start with a chronological plot summary of The Enemy. First, let's start with the shocking discovery, which is Dr. Sadao lives in a house built on a lonely Japanese coast. One misty evening, he and his wife Hana see a figure crawl out of the sea. Upon closer inspection, they find a severely wounded white man with a bullet injury. A cap reveals that he is none other than an American POW or an American prisoner of war. Oh God, now the dilemma of the Sadao's family starts. If they shelter this man, they will be arrested as traitors of Japan. But if they throw him back into the sea, he will die. Driven by humanity and his own medical ethics, Dr. Sadao decides to bring the man inside his house using his late father's room. And now the servants start the rebellion in the house. The household servants of Dr. Sadao strongly object. They believe sheltering an American is an act of treason. When Hana asks the nursemaid Yumi to wash the dirty, injured soldier, Yumi flatly refuses. Hana therefore is forced to wash him herself, and Sadao decides to perform the surgery to remove the bullet. Hana bravely assists Dr. Sadao or her husband by administering the anesthetic despite feeling completely nauseous herself. And now meet the general's secret pact. The operation of this American prisoner of war is a success and Tom begins to recover in Dr. Sadao's household. Due to growing tension and patriotism, all the servants strike and walk out of the house. Shortly after, a messenger in uniform arrives. Dr. Sadao is summoned to the palace, not to be arrested, but because the old general is in severe pain. At the palace, Sadao confesses everything to the general. The general, who's entirely selfish, does not want Sadao to be arrested because no other doctor can safely operate on him. Therefore, he promises to send his private assassins to quietly murder Tom and remove his body. And now start 3 nights of anxiety. For the next 3 nights, Dr. Sadao lies awake, expecting the assassins to arrive. Every rustle of leaves or wind makes him think the deed is being done. However, due to his own health complications and forgetfulness, the general fails to send the assassins. And now come to the last part of the chapter, which is the escape. Yes, the escape of the enemy. And this leads to the human triumph over the war. Listen, exhausted by the tension, Dr. Sadao takes matters into his own hands. He provides Tom with a boat, food, fresh water, extra clothing, and a flashlight. He instructs Tom to row out to a nearby deserted island and wait for a Korean fishing boat to rescue him. Dr. Sadao's plan succeeds. When Sadao reports to the general that the prisoner has somehow escaped, the general admits his own lapse of memory. Oh God. And now do you understand the themes of this chapter? Of course, the first is humanity versus patriotism. The next is the surgeon's oath. And the next is social realism versus individual morality. And now are you ready to answer the question answers of this chapter? There are many questions. Actually, there are 8 questions. Open page number 47 of your Vistas book. I will read each question and answer each answer. Question number 1. There are moments in life when we have to make hard choices between our roles as private individuals and as citizens with a sense of national loyalty. Discuss with reference to the story you have just read. Answer. In The Enemy, Dr. Sadao faces this exact conflict when a wounded American prisoner of war washes ashore. As a citizen, he has a national loyalty. Dr. Sadao's patriotic duty dictated that he hand the enemy soldier over to the police or let him die, especially during a brutal world war. But as a private individual, he has professional ethics. His duty as a doctor, governed by his medical oath, demanded that Dr. Sadao save a dying human being, regardless of nationality. Ultimately, Sadao chooses humanity and professional ethics over narrow nationalism. He operates on the soldier and later helps him escape, proving that universal human brotherhood and the value of life transcend artificial political boundaries. Done with the question. I'm sure you will love the answer, and when you will write this answer in the exam, you will get such good marks. Come to question number 2. Dr. Sadao was compelled by his duty as a doctor to help the enemy soldier. What made Hana, his wife, sympathetic to him in the face of open defiance from the domestic staff? Answer. Hana supported Dr. Sadao, that is her husband, despite the open rebellion of their servants due to a mix of deep marital loyalty, shared ethics, and compassion. First, marital loyalty and shared values. Having studied in America like Sadao, Hana understood his professional dedication. She trusted his integrity and chose to stand by her husband as a supportive partner. Second, inherent dignity and compassion. Unlike their servants, who were driven by fear and narrow nationalism, Hana could not bear to see a wounded, helpless human being left to die on the beach. Third, compulsion over choice. When the servants refused to help, Hana swallowed her own pride and disgust. She personally washed the American soldier Tom and even administered the anesthetic during the surgery, choosing universal humanity over social pressure. Done with question number 2. I love it. Come now to question number 3. How would you explain the reluctance of the soldier to leave the shelter of the doctor's home, even when he knew he could not stay there without risk to the doctor and himself? Answer. The young American soldier Tom was reluctant to leave the shelter of Dr. Sadao's house due to 2 main reasons. First, intense fear, And second, profound gratitude. First, fear of the outside world. Tom was a prisoner of war who had just escaped horrific torture and a near-death experience at sea. Tom knew that outside the safety of Sadao's home, he faced certain death or brutal recapture by the Japanese military. Second, trust and gratitude. Despite being in an enemy nation, Tom received unconditional medical care, food, and kindness from Sadao and Hana. Tom saw them not as enemies but as his saviors. Even though Tom understood that his presence put the couple in extreme danger, his survival instinct and psychological attachment to the only safe haven he had made him deeply hesitant to leave. Now come to question number 4. What explains the attitude of the general in the matter of the enemy soldier? Was it human consideration, lack of national loyalty, dereliction of duty, or simply self-absorption? Answer. The general's attitude towards the enemy soldier can be explained entirely by his absolute self-absorption and dereliction of duty, rather than any human consideration or lack of national loyalty. First, absolute self-absorption. The general was old, ailing, and consumed by the fear of his own death. He trusted only Dr. Sadao to perform his critical surgery. He realized that if Sadao were arrested for harboring a prisoner of war, no one else could save his life. Therefore, he protected Sadao solely to protect himself. Second, dereliction of duty. As a military commander, general's foremost duty was to capture the enemy soldier immediately. Instead, he kept the matter a secret and promised to send his private assassins to kill Tom, not out of national security, but to relieve Sadao's anxiety so the doctor could focus on treating him. Third, forgetfulness over loyalty. The general did not lack national loyalty. Rather, his intense self-pity and medical crisis made him forget his promise to send the assassins, allowing the soldier to escape. Thus, his actions were driven completely by raw selfishness and a total disregard for his official responsibilities. Come now to question number 5. While hatred against a member of the enemy race is justifiable, especially during wartime, what makes a human being rise above the narrow prejudices? Answer. While wartime propaganda and national security often fuel hatred against an enemy race, inherent human values, professional ethics, and a sense of universal brotherhood allow individuals to rise above narrow prejudices. First, the voice of conscience. At a fundamental level, human empathy recognizes suffering regardless of nationality. Therefore, when Dr. Sadao and Hana see a dying, bleeding man on the shore, their natural human instinct to save a life overrides their political hatred. Second, professional duty or the Hippocratic oath. For professionals like Dr. Sadao, their training instills a higher moral obligation. As a doctor, his primary duty is to fight death, making a patient's political identity completely irrelevant on the operating table. Third, universal brotherhood. The realization that the enemy is ultimately just another young human being who wants to live, as seen when Hana notices Tom's young, tortured face, breaks down nationalistic barriers. Therefore, compassion, a strong moral compass, and the recognition of shared humanity are the powerful forces that conquer narrow, wartime prejudices. And now we are left with 3 questions from the textbook. Come to question number 6. Do you think the doctor's final solution to the problem was the best possible one in these circumstances? Answer. Yes, Dr. Sadao's final solution, that is quietly helping Tom escape, was the best and most mature choice under these circumstances. It beautifully resolved his complex moral dilemma. First, saves innocent lives. If Sadao had kept harboring Tom, his entire household, including his wife and young children, faced execution for treason. Turning Tom over to the police would also mean sending a recovering man to face brutal torture and execution. Helping him escape saved both the families. Second, honors both duties. By operating on Tom, Dr. Sadao fulfilled his professional duty as a doctor. By reporting the soldier's presence to the general, he fulfilled his patriotic duty as a Japanese citizen. When the general failed to act due to his own forgetfulness, Sadao was left to find a peaceful resolution on his own. And third point in this answer should be the triumph of humanity. The escape harmed no one and allowed Sadao to escape a state of constant fear and anxiety. It proved that human compassion and the preservation of life are superior to the destructive nature of war. Come now to the penultimate question, which is question number 7. Does the story remind you of Birth by A.J. Cronin that you read in Snapshots last year? What are the similarities? Answer. Yes, The Enemy strongly reminds us of A.J. Cronin's story, Birth. Both stories center around the supreme dedication of a medical professional fighting against odds to save a human life. The key similarities between the two stories include, first, the medical dilemma. In both the stories, the protagonist faces a severe crisis. Dr. Andrew Manson from Birth must choose whether to save the dying mother first or her stillborn baby, while Dr. Sadao from The Enemy must choose between saving an enemy soldier or fulfilling his patriotic duty. The second point in this answer is female support system. In both the narratives, a woman plays a crucial role in assisting the doctor during the medical surgery. Hana administers anesthetic and helps Sadao, while the old midwife helps Andrew Manson in the mining room in the chapter Birth. Third point, the triumph of life. The ultimate theme of both the stories is the victory of medical ethics over grim circumstances. Both the doctors feel a sense of spiritual satisfaction at the end for successfully saving a human life. Lovely. And now come to question number 8. Is there any film you have seen or novel you have read with a similar theme like this, The Enemy? Answer. Yes, the classic 1971 Indian film Upkar and the renowned historical novel The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak share a very similar theme of rising above narrow prejudices to save a life during wartime. First, similarities with The Book Thief. Set in Nazi Germany during World War II, a poor German family risks their lives to harbor and hide a young Jewish man named Max Vandenberg in their basement. Just like Dr. Sadao and Hana, the Haberman family faces severe danger, isolation, and threat of execution. Yet, they choose human compassion over state-mandated hatred. Second, similarities with the 1971 film Upkar. The film showcases the immense dilemma of choosing between familial or national loyalty and basic human ethics during a conflict. And with this, we are done. I loved it. I know you did too. If you did, kindly subscribe to my channel. I am Heena from Tell a Tale with Heena. Thank you.